people around.
Right. We'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Ullrich, we come to the end of 1996, and it must be a very special year for you, your team here at Ingolstadt, and for Audi. A lot of championships coming your way. How long ago did you actually start the planning process for Audi A4 and Super Touring? Is it a long-term strategy or something that starts fairly quickly?
We started with the idea of Super Touring in '93 in the French Championship. The base for the car we developed was the Audi 80 Quattro. And the idea was to bring the Quattro idea also in the 2-liter championships.
Yeah.
We've been very successful in rallying.
Yeah.
We've been very successful in the United States with GTO in Dimsa. We came then to Germany in the Deutsche Tourenwagenmeisterschaft, DTM. Came there with a big, huge limousine with 4-wheel drive. Everybody thought they are crazy. But at the end, the car was very competitive and we could win a lot of races. Then the idea was we should go into an international series with a good technical reglementation, which is stable all over the world, following the idea that you develop a super touring car, centralized, and then you give this car in the hands of your importers, that they, with teams of their own country, can race these cars and work for the brand and for the car itself. Because if you look to Formula One, from my point of view, you can only do something good for the brand. There is no really link between the Formula One car and the product you can buy. But if you do it in super touring, the racing car and the street car that it is based on at least look that close that people have a clear identification with the product. This was the idea we followed. Then we started with the 80. We redeveloped the Audi 80 for 94 with a special aerodynamic package. The car was quite successful in Italy. We could win the Italian Super Touring Championship after we could win in 93 the French one with Frank Biela. In 94, the success came in Italy with Emanuele Pirro, which came to us in this year as a new entry from BMW. And then the time was ready to do a car on the base of the A4, which was the replacing car for the 80 in street version. So it was clear the idea to develop the A4 as a super touring car and follow the idea we started with the Audi 80. The development of the A4 started, I would say, at March, April 94. We started really with the first work on the development on the base of the A4. And the winter was very intense work because the car was completely new. We had to do everything as secret as possible. Our first racing car was a matte gray car, which we raced on a foggy day in Vallelunga, and nobody really could make out what it is. But we've been lucky because the car was immediately quick. We started then into the season 95 with the A4s in the Italian Super Tourism and in the German Super Tourenwagen Cup. And the first race was Misano in the Super Turismo, and I think also something very special. The first race for this car was a victory, so the start was a good one. In 95, we had also some Audi 80s running all over the world, because meanwhile, a lot of our partners had been asking for these cars. So we raced in South Africa and in Australia and in Belgium, additional to our semi-official programs in Italy and the official program here in Germany. The step then from 95 to 96 was just collecting what we have learned in the first year of racing in the A4. We improved the car on several items, not big things, but a lot of little things. And we had in mind that we would like to go to the PTCC, which for us was a big aim to work for. So I think we prepared extremely well. We had, at the end of 94, this very, very big success in Le Castellet, where we really did not think that we could win, because it was a circuit that if you look just the graph of the circuit, it really doesn't look as if it would fit to a four-wheel drive car. But then the result was very different, and we've been very competitive, and Frank could win the championship in front of Emanuele. A double was an excellent result, and a good motivation to go to England. Okay, you know then that the British season started excellent. We've been very competitive from the beginning. We've been a little bit disappointed of the competitiveness of the others at the beginning, because we really thought it would be much harder to begin. But for us, one thing was clear. We have to take the results, because it will be tougher with every race. And so we tried to win what we could win. And just being a little bit lucky, we've been punished. And then the trouble started in England. We've also been successful in Italy, and also there we took the additional weight. In Germany, the sporting regulation is clear. No changes to FIA regulation. So here in Germany, for us, it was clear, however the results will be, as long as the FIA doesn't change it, also the German organizers will not change the weight base.
Did you feel that you'd been punished severely?
We've been punished severely. If you look at the results, they haven't been so dramatically bad.
No.
But we have been really out of range of a win for several races. And I think this should not be the idea, because you shouldn't punish somebody that has an excellent car so much that he is not more able to win. I can follow the idea to make a championship interesting, to have cars on a very identical level, but if you punish one car that before was able to win, that it is no more able to win, I think you've done something wrong.
But with four-wheel drive, is that the only thing that makes the difference between Audi being a success and a failure, do you think? I mean, because you now have a situation where FIA are looking at four-wheel drive.
I know this. The problem is we've been racing also in 94 and in 95 with four-wheel drive, and we couldn't win in both years the German championship, and the drivers have been Frank Bieler.
Right.
So it can't be the driver,
Right.
which was the problem. And we had four-wheel drive. What we have done is we have improved the four-wheel drive system and the car itself. And this package, the A4 S Quattro, is the competitive car with very competitive drivers and teams.
Would Audi run a car as two-wheel drive?
If the FAA brings us in the situation that four-wheel drive should be banned, then we have to think about to make a front-wheel drive car, because if there is no more a chance worldwide to continue to show to everybody that four-wheel drive is excellent in rally car, wherever on a track in the United States, with 500 horsepower in the DTM and also with 300 horsepower in super touring, then I think you could demonstrate that the idea of the system can't be that wrong.
What's it done for Audi, though, as a brand and for your sales? A lot?
We feel, again, after the DTM, where we felt it very much, we feel now again in the third year of super touring that there is a clear identification between the Audi and the Quattro system and a lot of the customers. We can see it especially in Italy, because the rate of four-wheel drive cars we sold in Italy 3 years ago was something about 18%, and it has gone up this year to more than 40%. That means we doubled the number of four-wheel drive cars we could sell in Italy. And normally you should say Italy is not really the country of the very bad weather. Yeah. So there you can easily see that you at least bring interest to the people to try this system, how it works in your private hands. And what we know is that whoever has driven once a car like this, we don't lose very many to front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive.
And
They will stay there.
that applies on the racetrack too. Now, how about...
And another point, just to tell you, you know that we have been officially in these 2 years racing with all cars in this silver. And the percentage of sold quattro cars in this color has more than doubled. Just to show you how much influence it takes.
Now, you've been with Audi now for 3 to 4 years, and in that time you've put together what is undoubtedly the most successful super touring package that there is, because it really is a package. It's not just a car.
No. The thing that makes it really work well is the package.
Yeah.
That means all the guys and girls here in Audi Sport doing really an excellent job and really not doing it only with brain. Everybody has his whole heart in the job. Then we have had the luck to find worldwide excellent teams. Also there, you could not succeed because every new team you build up or you work with, first is a certain risk because you can't know all the people you work with worldwide. You have to give them a credit, to give them a chance to build up a thing, to support them, and then hopefully it works. And until now, we have been very lucky because in all the countries we built up the teams, they worked excellent from the first moment.
What about drivers? I mean, you've got a package of very experienced drivers, but also some young drivers too.
Yeah, we have a package of experienced drivers like Frank Bieler and Emanuele Pirro. Both of them now have many races on four-wheel drive cars. They are also the main team for the development of the car because they have so much experience and they bring a lot of personal ideas and things into the development, and this always brings us steps forward. Then it is important to have young drivers that are powerful but also very competitive at the end, and you have to give them a little bit time to learn to work with the car, with the system, because you have to drive this car quite different from a front-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive car. What we have now in our team, for example, in Germany, they have Tamara Vidali. She came from Italy and was racing several years front-wheel driven cars, especially also Alfa Romeo Super Touring cars. So she came from the front-wheel drive side. Mm-hmm. Then we have with Emanuele Pirro and now also with Ivan Müller, who's racing in Italy, guys coming in from BMW. That means they have a lot of experience with rear-wheel drive. And they also bring input in the development because they tell us the advantages, the disadvantages, their personal feeling is, and also these things you can use to improve your forward drive car.
And what about the young drivers like John Bincliffe and Philip Peter and others? Do you run a package where you hopefully keep and work with them for over a period of time?
Our idea is not to bring in a young driver and send him out again. It makes no big sense for me. They need a little bit of time to learn to work with the system, to improve themselves, and also bringing with their problems they have some improvement into the team, maybe into the car. Mm-hmm. So the intention is with the team we have to continue and build them up to have a very competitive team of drivers.
Now, of course, the big issue really is between international touring cars and super touring cars. And Audi have made a very firm decision to go down the production route. Do you think that that obviously is the right way from your point of view? How do you see the future? Is super touring going to become a world formula?
That's what we hope. I think Super Touring today is existing, I think, in 13 championships worldwide at the moment, which for sure is a very good distribution. And I think we have to think back quite some time to find a similar system that worked as well as this is. Now it's very much in the hands of the FIA to watch that these international regulations go on unchanged in all the countries. Because whenever an international motorsport system included too much freedom for the national changes, then it always started to be difficult. And our system, with all the logistics we have behind, functions only well if the car worldwide are identical. If we have to do different parts in South Africa than in England or Germany, the thing is much more complicated, much more difficult, and we could never manage the things we do today if the cars wouldn't be identical all over the world.
But do you think, though, that with Super Touring we've got to a point where it's starting to become very expensive to be a leading team, or is money not the object?
Money is always a little bit the object, but it's not the only object. I think if you give a lot of money in the hands of the wrong people, they will not succeed.
Right, right. And if that success you'd put down to preparing well in advance and working to a plan that allows you to get ahead of your opposition, because you seem to go into championships far more prepared than a lot of the other cars, especially in Britain, as we've already said.
Maybe the secret is that our most intense working period is the period between the race seasons. That means when we end with the racing season, we give another 15% of work, continue to the next beginning of the season, and then the normal work starts. That means we try to prepare through the winter period that good that we just have to follow the races, to prepare for the races, and to optimize the car for the races. Our intention is to have a car that runs without real problem through the season. And I think one of our strengths was this year that we started the year with a car that was so high developed that we never had to run behind a problem the whole season through. The only problem we got have been the additional 30 kilograms, and they have not been homemade. And we tried to equilibrate it with additional development work to make the car competitive again. But this is still against the idea of Super Touring a little bit. Because if you have to do some more development, you have to spend some more activities, which again cost some more money to be again competitive, but with additional 30 kilograms. I think it's something you have to discuss about.
So look forward then. 1997 looms large in your mind, at least probably for the planning. Do you hope to extend what you're doing?
To talk about extending is difficult. At the moment, I would have in mind only 2 championships we do not race this year. That would be interesting. This is the Japanese and the American Touring Car Championship. If our marketing departments responsible for this area, with the partners in these countries, think that we should go there Super Touring racing, then we have to try to include it in our motorsport program. If things should run normally, the FIA doesn't change big things, and the sporting regulations in the countries that we race are in an acceptable area, then I think our next year's program should be very close to this year's program. Maybe an additional country, maybe the same number, or we stop in one country to do an additional country.
Right.
But from the point of potential capacity, we are quite at the limit. And for me, it's very dangerous to do a little bit too much, and then we can't do it 100% good, which for me is the wrong way to go.
And what about the other formulas? From time to time, everybody brings up the rumor that Audi goes Formula One or Audi goes GT racing. Or
We feel always honored that people think we could do it.
Yeah.
At the moment, we always think about what you could do in parallel or to replace Super Touring, but I would say for the next years, I don't see any changes in our motorsport activities. The Super Touring idea, if it continues to be as good as it looks at the moment, I think is an excellent marketing tool, and we would try to support this as good as possible.
So finally, then, do you have a highlight of the year? Is it difficult with all of these championships to say that was the one or this was the drive? What one do you look at?
We had a lot of highlights from the driver's view. Frank Bieler did some extremely good races for me, where he really did 110%. All the others did 100%. And this was the only reason why he could win these races. In parallel, we have also in Germany with Emanuele a driver that really brought several times enormously good races. The biggest thrill for sure for us was the Abels weekend, because it was a weekend with high and deep so close to each other and so extremely wide the one from the other, that I think this happens only once a year. I hope so.
The heart can't take it for more than once.
Italy was quite thrilling the last races. Italy at the moment for me goes a little bit too much into road racing. I think it's a little bit too tough what's going to happen there. And I hope that the Vallelunga final will not end in a demolition race.
Right.
Because it can be expensive.
Yes. Well, congratulations to you, Dr. Ullrich. I think you and your team have done an absolutely wonderful job this year. And it's a great pleasure to see a successful company being successful.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Avi. That's great.
Right,